Its emotional character is probably mostly undescribable, except as a sort of double bind in which any all of the alternatives we associate with human agency, sitting or standing, doing or resting, speaking or keeping silent, living or dying, are not just unpleasant, but literally horrible. David Foster Wallace. So, hello everyone, and welcome to Depression Quest. So, this game deals with living with depression in a very literal way, and it's not meant to be fun or lighthearted. If you're currently suffering from the illness and are easily triggered, please be aware that this game uses stark depictions of people in very dark places. If you are suicidal, please stop playing the game or watching this video. So, I myself suffer from depression, and I'm not saying that just to be relatable or whatever. I am literally diagnosed with a depressive disorder, and I think that depression manifests itself in many different ways across the board. It's a little bit different for everybody, I think. We might all be experiencing some of the same symptoms, but I think often there are reasons why we experience the symptoms that we experience. So this is going to be a little bit of a serious game, a little serious talk about this, and if you're in for the ride, I hope you enjoy. Let's begin. Alright, looks like there's going to be a lot of reading. Alright, these are pretty little pictures here. It is early on a Monday morning. You are a mid-20s human being, and you have a significant other named Alex, who you are rather fond of, that you have to be seeing exclusively for the past few months. The rest of your social circle consists of a variety of friends and acquaintances, some of whom you met at your day job, which is a little boring, but pays the rent. You'd like to be doing more with your life, as would your parents. Oh, but you're still in the process of figuring out what that means and how to go about it. You are also dealing with motivational issues that sometimes make dealing with these things difficult. You feel like it's probably your fault, and on bad days you feel inwardly angry and down on yourself for being lazy. But you're not quite sure how you can break out of it, or how other people deal with these feelings, and seem very functional. You spend a lot of nights fixating on thinking about this. It never seemed to do anything about it other than lose sleep. So it seems like we're suffering with like self-deprivation attitude and some insomnia, which insomnia can increase your depression. The less sleep you get, the more sleep you get, and the healthier lifestyle you live tends to decrease your depression. But it's hard to get into a rhythm. It's difficult, especially when you're dealing with these thoughts. Let's continue. Alright. Oh, the music just changed a little bit. Did it? Maybe? It seemed like it for a second. It's an unreasonably warm Wednesday evening. You spent the past several hours at work. The past week or so, you found your job motivation flagging more so than usual. We've been in a fog practically all day today, simply going through the motions without realizing even what you've been doing half the time, and yet time seemed to be moving at half the speed. You're so checked out that when your boss approaches you to tell you that it's dead and you can go home early, it barely registers. As you walk home, the streets hiss from the recent rainfall. You know that your significant other will be in classes until late. Another couple another couple hours at least. You briefly consider using the serendipitous solitude to catch up on that project that you've been working on haphazardly for the past few months. As soon as you think about the work that awaits you at home, you can feel the panic creeping in from the back of your brain, unbidden. All you can think about is how incredibly far behind you are, and how the amount of work seems nothing less than an unsurreal amount. So, by the time you arrive home, you change out of your uncomfortable work clothes. The stress is weighing down on you like a heavy, wet wool blanket. Your computer seems to be staring you down from your desk. You want to sit down and work, but the mere thought of trying to work sends your stress levels flying. More than anything, you feel ill suddenly and absolutely exhausted, and feel a strong desire to simply hide in bed. Do you order some food, grab a drink, and hunker down for a night of work? Reluctantly sit down at your desk and try to make yourself do something. Turn on the TV, telling yourself you just need a quick half hour to unwind from work. Crawl to bed. You're so stressed and overwhelmed you couldn't possibly accomplish anything anyways. You are depressed, interaction is exhausting, and you are becoming more and more withdrawn. You are not currently seeing a therapist. You are not currently taking medication for depression. So, am I going to be given the option to go see a therapist and take medication? Because I might have to take that option. I don't like taking medication personally, but I do realize that I need to stay on one level with my emotions, because I have something that's called fluctuating. Well, I guess it's not officially called that, but I call it a fluctuation of emotions. And it's where I could be just fine for hours, and then randomly I'll start feeling angry about something, and I don't even know where the anger comes from. And I feel like their hands just pressing down on my brain and caressing it. And it's really hard to fight that, because it really hurts. But it's when I'm on medication, I feel kind of emotionless, but that's a lot better than having an up and down emotional roller coaster all the time, because that can be very exhausting. So what am I gonna do? Sorry, I went off on a tangent for a second. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna do the unwinding thing, because why not? I can't go to bed now. It's too early, I think. I would turn on some Netflix. Oh god, we're gonna start binging. Okay. Just a half hour of TV, you tell yourself, absently grasping for the remote. You don't so much sit down on the couch as you sink into it. You turn on the TV and start going for your usual channel routine. After a few cycles of this, you realize that you're not doing much more than fun calisthenics and absently killing time. You check the clock to see that over 20 minutes have already passed since you sat down. As your self-imposed time limit creeps up ever nearer, you become more and more anxious. You stand up and walk to the fridge, telling yourself, I'll just make a quick sandwich and get to work after that. Can't be productive on an empty stomach, right? As you eat, you start pacing around your apartment, heading past your bedroom in the process. You stop in the doorway as if physically unable to cross the threshold. Familiar waves of exhaustion start racking you, and you feel simultaneously tired and panicked. You close your door and head back to the couch. It's still early, yet you tell yourself, as long as I get it to work in an hour, I'll have plenty of time to be productive. As you flip channels and let the CSI and Jeopardy reruns wash over you, you sink deeper into the couch, feeling at once encroached upon and shielded by quite literally swallowed up by it. As the second hour draws nearer, sure enough, you find yourself getting anxious and jittery. You repeat the fridge pace couch process a couple more times before you look at the clock and realize that several hours have passed, and not surprisingly, you manage to get no work done. You crawl into bed, acutely aware of the fact that you have work in the morning, and that any opportunity you had to catch up on your creative endeavors today were squandered. You're feeling so disgusting with yourself that when Alex calls to talk to you on her way home from class, you simply say you had a really, really rough day at work, and you're trying to rest up before your shift tomorrow. She says she understands and wishes you a good night, though you can't help but notice she sounds slightly disappointed. Ironically, the stress of potentially upsetting your partner compounds with the stress of have not gotten anything done this evening, and the stress of having to go to work tomorrow. The buzzing of anxiety in your brain melts together with your body's utter physical exhaustion, and you sink into a semi-hypnagogic, anxious funk. Too tired to try and work, but too anxious to fall asleep for several hours. You are very depressed. You spend a large amount of time sleeping, hating yourself, and have very little energy or motivation. You are not currently seeing a therapist, and you're not taking medication. Alright, this is a bit shorter. Also, I also do that stuff too when it comes to Netflix. Sometimes I have to turn on the TV and let it show me whatever it needs to show me. When it comes to picking things for myself, it's really hard to really get into anything, because I get too attached easily. So I understand where he's coming from. I do that too with YouTube channels. I'll get attached to one YouTube channel, then I'll keep watching it and watching it and watching it until all the videos are gone, and I'll go search for another channel. I feel like it can really manifest itself in that way as well. It's a mild Friday afternoon. Alex calls you from one of her classes, telling you that there's going to be a really awesome birthday party tonight with her apartment that one of her roommates is throwing. You've hung out with this roommate a few times with Alex, and you get along enough, but you aren't particularly close. You don't have work in the morning and have nothing else in particular to do tonight. You are feeling kind of run down, but you have fatigued most of the time lately. You mention that you feel ill because you're not sure how else to explain these feelings to someone else, and say that you aren't sure that you can make it tonight. There's a second sound of silence over your phone. But you can swear you hear the sound of your partner's face falling. She tries to convince you anyway. You haven't seen her this week, and she sounds pretty insistent you come over. She even drops a few suggestively worded hints that you can stay over with them tonight after the party. Shake your funk and have a good time with your girlfriend. Agree to go. Say that you're really just not feeling well and can't make it. I'm gonna agree to go, because go, please. You agree to go even though you're not really feeling social. You know it's important to Alex and you really like to see her. Seeing her does make you feel better, and you hope that this is the case tonight, even if it does mean dealing with the usual social anxiety. The time to leave rolls around and you grab your overnight bag. Alex's apartment is a short walk away, and there are already people hanging out on the porch. You feel your chest tighten as you approach the building and try to still your nerves. You quickly find your partner chatting away with the birthday girl, and Alex immediately lightens up when she sees you. I'm so happy you came. I wasn't sure if you were going to make it. A young man taps her shoulder her on the shoulder, and she turns back to you to apologize and let you know that they have something in for the party. Alex hands you a beer and plants a kiss on your cheek before going off to deal with whatever came up. Okay. If you look around, you don't see anybody else you recognize. Awkwardly stand in the same spot, unsure of what else to do. Put your bag in your Alex's room and avoid the crowd in there for a while. Cling to the back wall, sip your beer, and wait for your girlfriend to return. Proceed to drink in earnest. So hopefully it'll make you less uncomfortable. I'm not gonna drink because self-medication is not very good for you. And when you're depressed, you're more susceptible to medicating yourself in unprofessional way, and in a not good way, okay? I'm gonna awkwardly stand in the same spot, unsure what else to do. Now, me personally, you know what, if I'll just go for my personal thing. I always avoid the crowd. And that's not due to my depression, really. I don't like crowds in general. So, I'm just gonna pick what I would do. You take your beer and shift through the crowd until you arrive at Alex's room. The room is actually empty of other partygoers, and you sit on her bed as you set your bag down. Thankfully, for the personal space and feeling a lot less claustrophobic, you mess around on your phone and sip your beer. You keep telling yourself you'll go back out in 5 more minutes. But every time the time rolls around to go back out, you feel the panic creep in, and you stay root to the spot. You figure no one here knows you anyway, so it's unlikely you'll be missed. Oh, that's such bad thinking. But I do it too. I really do. A few minutes later, Alex comes into the room. Oh, there you are. I was wondering where you gone off to. Figured I might find you here. She sits down on the bed next to you, buzzed enough to be slurring slightly. I'm really glad you turned up tonight. To be honest, I really don't think you'd show. It's really cool you did. Really. You know she meant it lovingly, but you're not quite sure how you feel about that statement. Yeah. I mean, she might be hinting at something, like how unattentive I am, but in reality, sometimes, and this is just me personally again, I would hear something that somebody says, or someone would just say something like, normal to me, and it would make me overthink everything that they have said to me, and everything that we have done, and I have to make sure that I haven't made any mistakes, and mistakes are like, I don't know, being awkward and just not really contributing to the conversation, looking or feeling boring or feeling pretentious, or I don't like to brag about myself, but I want to talk about something and I don't know what else to talk about. But it's something like that. Again, that's just me. It's a little afternoon on a muggy Saturday. Your mother has come over to a surprise visit, claiming loudly that she doesn't see you enough, so she decided to invite herself over. As you converse, she walks around your place, and you get the distinct impression that she's being inspected. So, what's going on with you lately? She asks abruptly. Taken somewhat aback by this left fielder, you tell her you're not sure what she means. She repeats the question, saying that you seem like yourself lately. She gestures to the dirty pile of dishes in the sink and notes the fact that you haven't called or visited in a while. There's some long words in here, I don't know. Your reticence, only seems to spur her on more. She presses you, asking if you are having problems at work or with Alex, and you're beginning to feel increasingly battered by her sudden, well-meaning but overwhelming inquisition. Under her questions, you become increasingly uncomfortable. You want to be able to explain to her how you've been feeling, but the truth is you're not really sure yourself. Nothing horrific has happened at work or with your significant other or friends or anything like that. But all the same, you can't deny that lately you've been feeling drained and that you're not really here. You wish you could tell your mother these things, but she hasn't been approachable about negative emotions in the past. She is kind of a person who holds the opinion that the solution to any problem is to simply try harder and maintain a positive attitude. A stance that has reared its head in the past conversations. When you begin to explore the subject with her, you know she is unlikely to be understanding, and you feel the energy drain out of you when you imagine what would happen if you managed to blurt out everything you are feeling. God, do we all have the same mothers? It's a little bit personal, but my own mother really doesn't believe that I have depression, and I don't really have any reason to be depressed, so that's something that contributes, but I'm not going to get too deep into that part. What do you do? Let her know that you've been feeling down lately and that you appreciate her. Try to be honest with her anyway. Tell her that everything is fine and thank her for asking. Change the subject. I'm gonna do what I would do. I would definitely try to change the subject. Are you okay? It's a question you've been finding yourself being asked a lot lately. It's one that has begun to make you instantly uncomfortable. It's one that you would have spilled your guts to adequately describe, which would be an almost impossible feat to perform at the moment. Even if you managed to, you'd have to fight for your self-loathing long enough to keep talking, despite how feeling like everything you're saying amounts to simply belly aching. Oh, I get that. If somehow you power through that as well, you'd have to live with feeling truly exposed, and you'd figure anyone who would know all these things would put off to you permanently. More importantly, despite your mother's best intentions, she is quite likely the worst possible person to try and wade through all this bullshit with. You evade the question by pretending to have received the text message. Once you pretend as though you are finishing reading it, you change the subject back to one of your mother is interested in. She takes the bait, and the topic is successfully changed. A feel of unease lingers, and your stress levels stay high until she leaves a bit later. You wonder if you should talk to someone about this, someone who would be more sympathetic and not tell you to simply think positive. Yeah, I'm gonna say I get it with every single one of these, because when I do talk to someone, it's been really difficult to talk to someone. It's really seems difficult because you don't know if they actually care or if they're actually listening, and very often you feel like your emotions are just a burden to the people that you talk to, and you feel like they're not going to talk to you again sometimes because you just dumped it dumped this big load of emotional stuff onto them, and you feel like that they would worry about you, and that would burden them even more than they already seem to. I do agree with the carry your own weight kind of perspective. Of course, it's not your friend's job to become your therapist or your, and I don't even think it's your parents' job to become that. I think that we do need to see some therapy, and if I get the option to, I'm going to do that. Alright. It's a lazy Sunday morning. You're idly clicking around online as the phone rings. Sam, a coworker of yours that you're friendly with, asks how you are and makes a hurried small talk with you. You typically only ever talk to him on the phone when one of you needs a shift covered, so it's slightly awkward. You're waiting and in anticipation for him to ask you to come in on short notice when he veers the conversation into a completely different direction. How do you feel about cats? He asks. Mine had kittens a few weeks ago. I'm having an awfully hard time finding a home for the last one of the litter. You don't have any pets, right? It takes a moment for you to process this new information, and you're caught off guard as he begins to earnestly try to sell you on the idea of taking the last kitten off his hands. It's not something that you specifically considered before, and he seems fairly insistent. She's a real sweetheart, really loves people. She's got her shots already taken care of, and the vet said she's as healthy as a horse. I can bring her over to your place tonight if you're interested. You look around the apartment and try to picture a cat in it as he continues to tell you about how cute she is, and you tell him that it's kind of sudden and that you don't have anything for a kitten set up here. Oh, don't worry about that. I can bring over the litter box, the food, and since you've really been helping me out of a fix, it's the least I can do. I just don't want to have to put her in a shelter. You can't help but feel like you're being guilt-tripped, but you decide to give it some serious consideration. It does get awfully lonely around your apartment, and it might feel less empty with a cat around. However, since you've been feeling so down, it might not be a good idea to take on the responsibility of a cat, even if you're fairly low maintenance. Take the cat knowing full well that you can take great care of it. Decline, even though you'd be totally capable of taking care of it. You're not much of a cat person. Become a cat owner. You could use the companionship. Decline. I'm gonna become a cat owner today, y'all. I like cats, 1. 2, I think maybe this could be a turnaround for us because animals are really good when it comes to therapy. And that's my personal opinion, apparently. But yeah, I think this might be good for us. You accept the offer of the kitten and hang up shortly after making arrangements for when your coworker can drop her off tonight. After hanging up, you worry that you've suddenly taken on a responsibility and you can't handle it, and hope that you make a small animal suffer for it. Hope you don't make that happen. If you're not entirely sure what to expect, then you spend the rest of the afternoon researching cat care online and trying to think of a name. The evening rolls around and you hear a knock at your door, startling you out of the reading Wikipedia entirely too hard. You take possession of a small, terrified black and white kitten in a carrier, along with everything you need to start taking care of her. You take her into your bedroom, close the door, and open the door or to the carrier excitedly. The coworker in the back of it, and she cowers. She cowers in the back of it and you back off. Feeling slightly defeated, you remember what you're researching on introducing a kitten to a new home and leave her alone to go mess around on your computer, hopefully checking over your shoulder every so often to see if she has come out yet. She hides inside the carrier periodically, making sorrowful cat howls long enough for you to start worrying that she already doesn't like you. But by the time you go to bed, she's curled up at the foot of it, eyeing you nervously before falling asleep. Over the next few days, you gain her trust, and she begins affectionately following you around, sleeping on you, and hopping on you at any time to sit down and do some work. See, I knew this would be good. Cats are just so cute. It's a late Friday afternoon, and quitting time is just around the corner. A bright, clear day is given way to a still temperate evening. Hold on. Pizza, okay. You can hear your coworkers all around you anxiously making plans for their evening and weekends, but you're really looking forward to just going home and resting after what's turned out to be a very long and taxing work week. Just before the end of your shift, you get a call from Alex. It seems a group of your mutual friends are heading out to a nearby pub for dinner and drinks to celebrate the end of the week, and they want to know if you'd like to come along. You timidly tell her that you're emotionally exhausted from your work week, and a social outing like that would just take too much out of you today. You encourage her to go and have a good time, since you know it's been a while since she has gone out with friends, but the effort feels futile since you know that she isn't going to go without you. A couple hours later, the two of you find yourselves on a familiar position on the couch, watching comedy shows on Netflix, a box of pizza open and on the coffee table in front of you. As long as you look across the couch at her, you start to feel anxious. You feel bad about effectively forcing the two of you to stay in tonight again. While you are always appreciative of your partner's efforts to take your feelings into account and help make sure you're sociably comfortable, you sincerely worry that you're holding her back from enjoying a more fulfilling relationship. While she does seem to enjoy spending time with you, as the two of you sit in comfort, almost contented silence, watching old show. Let me gather my thoughts real quick. Sorry. Watching old shows you've each seen 2 or 3 times before, your ever-increasing fear that your relationship is becoming one-sided weighs more and more heavily on you. You feel more than ever like a burden or a ward to her, and it's virtually impossible for you to see the value you could possibly offer to her in return. Worst of all, this nagging fear has made you feel more self-conscious than ever, withdrawing ever inwards, and you started to pull away even from Alex herself. What do? You know, despite the bad times, your girlfriend sincerely loves you. Relationships are a two-way street, and you resolve to, as always, to be there for her and how she has been here for you. Tell Alex how important she is to enjoy your evening. Ask Alex if she's happy with your relationship. Don't say anything. You're already worried about her feeling. We have to say some stuff, okay? We have to talk about this. You look over at Alex, who hasn't noticed you watching her yet, and you try to parse the expression on her face. You worry that one sheer boredom and air tolerance. You wonder if she's thinking about all the fun things she could have been doing tonight, if she wasn't trapped on the couch with you, ordering some of the same 3 takeout places you always order from. A sense of disappointing her creeps over you as you picture what the night could have been, and if you had accepted the invitation she had made earlier. I know this is a pretty boring Friday night for you. Are you really happy being with me, being like this? She turned and to look at you, forehead wrinkled. Why do you ask me so often? You feel her body stiffen and pull away from yours just a little. Well, I mean, you start, but you aren't You are unable to try and think of how to answer. It's probably silly, but it's reassuring. I like to hear we're on the same page. I want to make sure I'm right for you. I know it's not what you'd usually be up to. I don't know. I guess I get kind of worried that you're getting bored sometimes. Never mind. This sounds more honest than anything. Alex sighs. Look, if that were the case, I would let you know. I don't think you're boring. You're more of a homebody than I am. I'm learning how to deal with that. Deal with it, you think. Repeating it in your mind. Does she see you as a problem to be dealt with? You try to pick up her reply apart in your mind. This is what I was talking about before. About overanalyzing every single thing that someone says, even if it seems kind of normal to say those things. And all of your conclusions leads to the previous worry that you're holding her back. You begin thinking that the phrasing was chosen without too much deliberation, and that despite her attempts at reassuring you, this slip out of your tongue revealing her true feelings. As you picture how much fun she would be having right now if only you had accepted her invitation and managed to somehow get over your reservations and anxieties, despite not knowing how you would go about that. She cuddles back up to you. Thanks for putting up with me, you say. Start staring at the TV and actually watching it. She sighs and responds. Oh boy. A breezy Sunday afternoon. You've allowed Amanda, an old friend from school that is in town for the weekend, to talk you into leaving the house and for coffee and catch up. Yes, social interaction. You meet her in a small cafe and talk about what you've been up to since you've last seen each other, and can't help but feel like there are a lot more that they accomplished a lot more than you. And they're more accomplished and interesting than you are while listening to them talk about their life after school. When it's your turn to brief them on your activities, you feel anxious and ashamed to give a very abbreviated version. You try to talk about your job as little as possible, feel incredibly boring while you describe it, despite her expressing sincere interest in you and your life. Amanda has known you long enough to read your mood and tone of voice. She leans in to ask a question while generally touching your hand and look of genuine concern. What's wrong? To you, suggests a change of location and confide in her honesty. Please, no, why can't I click that? Test the waters and open up a little, hoping she'll understand. Insists that nothing is wrong and change the subject. No. Defensively asks what she means by that. No. Notice that your hands are shaking. That's the best one, I guess. It's such a small question, but you feel like a blow to the gut. You surprise yourself when you realize that your tightly clenched fists are now beginning to shake slightly. Despite your best efforts, you feel tears begin to sting at your eyes. You try to disguise this by tilting your head up and praying that they'll suck back in. I don't think it works like that, does it? She suggests that the two of you get out of there, and you feel mortified. She offers to go back to your apartment with you, and the two of you end up talking in her car for 2 hours as the words just pour forth from you. Yes, I picked the right option. This is amazing. Amanda seems unsure of what to say at times, but she listens and rubs your back as you sob and talk. She asks if you've gone to a doctor about this, and you admit that you haven't. She mentions that her mother is seeing a very good therapist in town and offers to ask her about it. You're not thrilled about the idea of going to a therapist, and even less thrilled that Amanda might be telling someone about your problems. But she persists and tells you that she'll email you the doctor's contact information later in the week. Good. Gonna get some help. We're gonna get some help. That's good. Alright. You have a dental appointment that day, but you make plans for him to pick you up afterwards. What? The dental appointment? the dentist to pick you up. What? Hold on. Oh, okay. It's a glaringly sunny Monday, and one of the few days that your brother Malcolm is in town and free long enough of the two of you actually see each other. But he makes plans for you. Okay, here we go. Your appointment takes a little longer than expected because your dentist tells you that you've started grinding your teeth in your sleep to a worrying degree. Given how nearly everything in life has been feeling enormous and stressful lately, this doesn't come as a surprise to you. He suggests that you try to reduce your stress levels and fits you in a night guard. It feels awkward and too big for your mouth, and you feel embarrassed looking at your puffed out face in the mirror with it in. You finish up the appointment and hurry to leave, about a half an hour overdue for your meeting your always punctual brother in the parking lot. You finish up as quickly as possible and leave the building to scan the parking lot for your brother's car. But you don't see his old Civic anywhere. You pass by a blue Camaro and jump as it beeps at you, causing you to jump in surprise. It takes you a moment to realize, but it's Malcolm in the driver's seat. You hop in the passenger seat and compliment him on his new ride, and he mentions that it's a perk of a promotion he's recently obtained at work. He starts telling you about how much more money he's making, and his career is really taking off, and now he's starting to look at houses for his wife soon. You clutch the bag containing the night guard in your hand and feel yourself clench your teeth as you think of your crummy apartment and how long it's been since you've been able to take a day off work without having to worry about making ends meet. And he's only 2 years older than you, but feels like he's eons ahead of you in every aspect of your life. Here's another symptom. It's feeling like you're not doing anything productive, you're not moving on like everyone else, feeling like everybody is just so much better than you, so much more accomplished, and it just adds to the depression. But you just have to remember that he's just talking about himself, and I'm sure he wants to hear about you just as much as he wants to hear himself talk, I guess. That's my 2 cents. So he asks, how did your appointment go? Did you get drilled full of holes or what? A sense of shame creeps over you. Lie. No. Laugh about your dorky night guard with your brother. Tell him that the night guard and why you need it. Tell him about your tooth grinding problem, but not the stress causing it. The dentist said I'm apparently grinding my teeth too much when I sleep. Oh, Malcolm replies. Been stressing out lately, kiddo? Kiddo? The brother calling me kiddo. I don't have siblings, but that sounds weird to me. I don't know why. Deciding that you don't really want to go into it, you tell him that you don't think that's the case and it's probably just a random thing. He doesn't pry further and instead begins reminiscing with you about the time you chipped the baby tooth because he accidentally knocked you over once. You go out for dinner and catch up on things, but you still feel somewhat distracted by gnawing anxiety at the back of your mind. Though you enjoy your brother's company, you still feel like you want nothing more than to go home and hide from the world away. It becomes hard for you to try to stuff all your horrible feelings down and go emotionless. When someone like the dentist can see a fraction of what goes on in your head, it leaves you feeling embarrassed and weak, and you hate yourself for feeling that way. You wonder if you're really fooling anyone into thinking you're a normal person, and then you wonder if your brother knows and is hanging out with you out of pity tonight. After he drops you back off at your apartment, you throw the night guard out. You can't stand to even look at the thing. No, don't do that! Don't do that! You need that! Stop! They're trying to help you. It's a dry Sunday morning. Grab your morning coffee and scoot your rapidly growing kitten off your office chair, and despite her protests, sits down at the desk to check your email. A new message pops up in the inbox almost as soon as you do. It's from Amanda, and you remember your meeting in the cafe and awkwardly bringing up your feelings to her. Hey, buddy. Hey, sorry it's been a few weeks. I meant to get this to you sooner, but it took a while to get a hold of my folks back home. Dad told me to say hi, by the way. Anyway, I remember what we talked about last time I saw you, and I hope you aren't insulted. But I asked my mom for the number for her therapist. Don't worry, I didn't tell her who it was for. I think she's worried about me now. Haha. Anyway, the number is 6 . It's a really good office. You should look into it. Talking to someone never hurts. What if this is an actual number for some random therapist and they're using this game to promote themselves? That would be silly. That's a silly thought. Don't actually call this number. We don't know who that number goes to. Unless that's like a suicide hotline. I don't know what that is. Don't call it. If you're worried about money, don't be. They're one of the few that has really good sliding scale fee system and won't charge you what you can't afford. I hope you're feeling better. It was really nice to see you again, A. It's still early enough that you could call and make an appointment today. Your kitten curls up on your lap as you consider what to do. Call the therapist. Try your luck and call the number, even though the more thought of talking to someone makes you anxious. She cared enough to send you it after all. You're looking for the help they can offer. Sleep on it and see if you're feeling in the morning. You're not keen on the idea, but you don't want to disappoint Amanda. Close the email without thinking more of it. This has been... Oh, no. No. You are not closing that email. You are gonna... I want to pick this option really bad, but... Or this option, too, is a lot better, actually. I guess we're gonna sleep on it, because at least we'll think about it. The thought of picking up the phone and calling someone about this right now is overwhelming. Sure, you're having a hard time lately and have motivation issues, but are you really in need of therapy? Yes, you are. Oh god, this is something else that happens, even with me. Like, sometimes you feel like your problems don't really matter because there's a lot of other people who are suffering from much more harsher problems like starvation and like other problems, poor financial stability, abuse perhaps. It's really but really when you are feeling like this, you definitely need help. And really, not really any problem is too small, you know? Everyone has problems dealing with life. Everybody goes through trials. Everybody has something that bothers them. And it's good to talk to someone about it. And it's good to vent. And it's good to get that off of your chest. So it's very important. Alright, shouldn't you be able to just get over it yourself? What if they put you on medication that makes you feel like a zombie? What if you go to the therapist looks down on you? Technically, they shouldn't do that. It's unethical. What will Alex think about this? Trying to think about all these things at once makes it feel like a very big deal, and you decide to take your time to think on it. The rest of the day passes quickly, and that night you are having a hard time trying to sleep because your brain is too busy thinking about these things and imagining all the ways it could go horribly wrong. The next morning you check the email again with the blurry eye sand, a meowing kitten. Amanda's email is still there, seemingly waiting for you. You are no more decided than you were yesterday. Just call already. It can't hurt to check it out. Call after wrestling it with for a few minutes longer. Don't call. No, we're calling. We're gonna call. Please call. You read through Amanda's email 2 or 3 times and sit and stare at your computer for a while. While the memory of that uncomfortable conversation makes you feel newly embarrassed and self-conscious, part of you is encouraged by the fact that she cared enough to get back to you at all. Sitting in front of your computer, you start to question things like whether or not Amanda sent you this number out of pity, or perhaps some sense of obligation for having listened to you. You question her motives and the validity of her concern, and whether or not you think seeing a therapist would be helpful. Yes, it would be helpful. Please, don't make me. I'll make you. Don't make me make you. I'll make you. I'm sorry. I really want this guy. I really want to help this guy out because I really feel him right now. It was so much better when I got therapy. I felt so more alive, I guess, and it felt good to work through my emotions and set goals for myself and reach those goals. I think it's very important. So we're gonna get you in there one way or another, okay, buddy? You better not, okay? You better not give me the option to get you into therapy. Yet, almost unconsciously, you reach for your phone, and before you realize what's happening, you're listening to the therapist's line ring. Before you can bring yourself to hang up, you're listening to a slightly clinical, but not unpleasant voice of the receptionist asking how she can help you. I'd like to make an appointment with the doctor. You manage to stammer out. The conversation is quick and not nearly as unpleasant as you were fearing, and quicker than you say, Freudian slip. You scheduled an appointment. Quicker than you realize appointment day rolls around, you head to the therapist's office even though you're totally unsure what to expect. Yes, do this. Yes. Just go on in, my friend. Alright. You have your first session with the new therapist, Dr. Susan Melville, a tall woman in her mid-40s with a disarming demeanor and patient eyes, and the start of the slightest smile lines. She makes you feel comfortable fairly easily, which is a pleasant surprise after all the anxiety over the appointment. As you leave to make a second appointment, you're still skeptical about all of this, but figured you might as well see where this goes. The hardest part, it seems, was taking the first step. You're still not sure if and how you're going to tell your family or your partner. Is the music changing? The music sounds like it's changing a little bit. I can hear like people talking in my headphones. So that's interesting. Change. I'm gonna turn down the volume a little bit though. Okay. As you leave, you make a second appointment. You're still skeptical about this, but figure you might as well see where this goes. The hardest part, it seems, was taking the first step. You're still not sure how you're going to tell your family or your partner, but you figure you'll deal with that when the time comes. Either way, you feel relieved that you managed to see this through, instead of being paralyzed with worry over it. Even if nothing comes out of it, you did something. You said you would, instead of flaking out or running away. You're emotionally exhausted when you get home and collapse in the bed. You sleep better that night than you have in a week. Yes, we're already starting to see change. That's great. And you're not sure if it is because you were so tired when you got home, or if it was because of the therapist. You spent some time on the therapist's couch. You're having difficulty finding motivation to continue going to your sessions. Please go to your sessions. And it is early on a Wednesday morning. Lately, you've developed a nasty habit of waking up 10 to 20 minutes before your alarm rings, and unfortunately today is no exception. You lay in bed each minute, ticking closer and closer to wake-up time and passing on a swelling wave of ever-encroaching dread. Sooner than you would like, the alarm blares with a caustic inevitability. What a word. You frantically pound the snooze button and then retreat under your blankets as if the warmth of your comforter can shield you from the passage of time. You must always have a difficulty rising from bed, but today the simple task seems nothing short of Herculean? What? After several snooze cycles, you decide that you just can't deal with work today. You're incapable of even rousing yourself from bed, let alone going to work and having to force yourself through a work day. Not to mention you've snoozed so many times that it would be impossible for you to make it on time anyways. Head into work. At least you can leave early if it gets too unbearable. Yes, go to work, thank you. In spite of the fact that your body is actively fighting you literally every step of the way, you somehow manage to drag yourself out of bed and make your way into work. Surprisingly, you end up only being about 5 minutes late, and nobody seems to notice or care. Though when you woke up, the simplest act of being physically present at your job seems like an impossibility. You are surprised at your own ability to push on through the day. While you are far from enjoying or even really coping with the dullness of your job today, you seem to have slipped into a trance-like state of automation, and time is nevertheless passing. Eventually, the end of the day rolls around, and you head home, utterly exhausted, but at the same time almost proud of yourself that you stuck it out. Yeah, be proud! You fought. Oh no, this doesn't look good. Oh no, this doesn't look good. Oh, I must have messed up. Oh god. I thought I did everything right. It's 2 a.m. on Sunday and you have work in the morning. You roll over to see the sickly green glow, the time displayed on your LED alarm clock. And let an exasperated sigh, you've been trying to fall asleep for over 3 hours to no avail. Every time your head hits the pillow, you're overcome with anxious thoughts that wrap themselves around each other. Worries about your job lead to worries about your future, lead to worries about your very identity. And you're unable to shake them off enough to doze off. Your eyes won't even stay shut as your mind races through imagined scenarios going horribly wrong. And it should properly attribute to your general worthlessness. Oh god, this is hitting home to me. Your thoughts run too fast for you, and you come to a satisfying conclusion on any one of them. Your room is completely silent, but the silence has given way to a loud static noise rattling around inside your head. Your heart beats loudly, and you worry it's beating a little too fast. You worry that if you focus too strongly on your racing heart, you'll freak yourself out hard enough that you'll have an heart attack. You have to be awake for work in a mere 8 hours, and you know that your work is much worse on only a few hours sleep. What will you do? Go to your computer. Sleep is clearly not happening no matter how long you lay here. Oh god, no, we're regressing. Oh boy. Hopefully we can find something on the computer that will help us. Maybe, I don't know. You get out of bed and head to your desk, laying in bed with nothing but your thoughts to keep you company. You feel like you're going insane, but the harshness of the light coming from the screen makes you squint as you turn it on, despite how often you find yourself in the exact situation. There have been so many nights lately, just like this. As you begin reading your news story, an online friend of yours IMs you. Attic, you're up late again, I see. Yeah, I can't sleep. Again. Thinking too much again? You thinking. You guessed it. Sad face. Want to talk about it? Please talk about it. Please talk about it. Please talk about it. You end up talking with Attic for quite some time about how you've been feeling. He's always been easy to talk to about personal matters, and the added security of talking online helps. Being able to rethink what you say as you type it out and check it before you send it helps you gather your thoughts and find it less intimidating in a way to type it all into a prompt and say it out loud. Excuse me. I don't want to be that guy who thinks they can diagnose someone because I read a Wikipedia article, but it kind of sounds like you might have depression. You should talk to someone about that, like a doctor. You pause. Are you really that transparent? Or is it that you've gotten used to talking about your feelings at this point? Your insomnia makes you a little paranoid, but you shake it off. Alright, we can do some research and see if there's a good doctor near you. It's not like you're going to sleep anytime soon anyways. Might as well do something while you're awake. You know that's okay. You actually have to talk to someone. Actually, I have to talk to someone about it. Yes, you do. Please talk to someone. Oh, okay. I'm glad you're taking that step. I've heard it's not an easy one. I know people kind of suck to understand this sort of stuff sometimes. But there's nothing wrong with having depression. You wouldn't be ashamed to have bronchitis or something, so there's no reason to be ashamed if it's your brain that's sick instead. True. You spend a few more minutes talking with Attic about your therapy and your feelings about it. He's incredibly supportive, and you're happy to find that you are confident that you have a confidant who understands your illness and is willing to lend an ear when you're having nights like this. A little while later, you fall back in bed, kitten in tow, and find it easier to drift off to sleep. Even in therapy, you're still gonna have nights like these sometimes. It's good to know you have a friend who will help carry you through them. Oh God. Here we go. It's a chilly Thursday night and you just gotten off work. This has felt like one of the longest days you faced in recent memory. Even though nothing exceptional has happened, a ton of minor things kept going wrong, and coworkers had tried your patience throughout the day. You consider leaving work early, but the last thing you want to do is deal with your insufferable boss on top of everything else. You're lost in thought on the commute home, and your feelings of frustration, both with your life and the world around you, build as you run into minor annoyances, like someone bumping into you really hard as they walk by. By the time you get home, you're exhausted, and remember that these feelings were ones you identified as negative feedback loop with your therapist. These pent-up feelings are dying down and are eating at you. You open the front door and stare into your apartment. An overwhelming feeling of exhaustion overcomes you, and you feel like energy levels are low. Though you'll likely settle into a single activity tonight. What will you do? Reach out to someone close to you. Don't burn. Reach out to someone close to you. Your head feels too noisy, and you need to trade it for some actual conversation. Your therapist did say that it was important to reach out to your support network. Might as well give it a shot. Let's talk to Mom. I don't know. She might say something to make me fall back in the loop. I'm afraid, based on what he said. Maybe I could talk to Alex about this. He's family and fun to talk to. Oh, this is such a difficult decision. I think I might go for the mother. As long as we keep this in mind, she unconditionally loves you, even if she doesn't understand you. Please keep it in mind as I call you. Oh God, this isn't. In feeling vulnerable, you decide to reach out to the familiarity of family. You have had your fair share of differences with your mother, but you know for a fact that she would never turn you away if you needed her. You dial the phone number of the house you grew up in, the number that hasn't changed during your entire life. Your old number your mother answers after a few rings and is delighted that you have called her. You ask her what's new after she launches into telling you all about the activities around the house, what friends and family you have been up to, and a tangent about how she's desperately trying to get your father to eat more healthily. Hearing about the day-to-day details on your life back home reminds you of being a little kid in that neighborhood, and is a pleasant distraction. However, when she asks you how you're doing, you're faced with the decision to either lie or the familiar back and forth of trying to tell her how you're feeling and having her not understand why you're so upset. Instead, you tell her that you have to run all of a sudden and tell her you loved her and hang up. As you hang up, you feel a little more isolated than when you started, and you feel like you got overly sentimental for the way you felt when you were a kid and want to be looked after. And let that make you forget that your mother is not a terribly understanding person when it comes to matters of mental health. You lay down on your bed feeling slightly defeated and stare up at your ceiling. Next. Oh, I get all the options this time. Woo! It is utterly nondescript Wednesday afternoon, and the type of afternoon that would completely fade from memory unless one made an active effort to preserve it. As had been routine on Wednesdays, you were sitting on the couch at Dr. Melville's office. To your mild surprise, she begins the session by breaking her characteristic therapist silence and begins speaking outright. I want to start by saying I think it's great that you decided to come see me. It's an incredibly important first step, she begins. I want to take some time today to talk with you about the possibility of supplements or substituting your treatment with medication. The mention of medication makes your ears perk up, and you feel your heart rate increasing as she continues. Many people find adding pharmacological element to their treatment to be very helpful, and some even prefer to take drugs, completely eliminating their need to visit a therapist at all, providing you rely on your support network and are still reaching out to people. I would prefer it if we kept talking should you choose to start medication, so I can monitor your progress and adjust as needed. But the choice is ultimately yours. I just wanted to run the option by you to gauge what your thoughts on the matter might be. Dr. Melville has given you a lot to think about, but you accept a prescription as a way to augment your therapy? No. Tell her that you'd like to try drugs instead of therapy. These weekly sessions have always made you a little uncomfortable. No. The thought of messing your brain chemicals makes you uneasy. You'll stick with therapy. The whole therapy thing has always overrun you, and this is the final straw. You're done with both. No. Augment your therapy. This is number 4 is the worst option, so we're not picking that. The thought of messing with your brain. Stick with therapy. Tell her. Spend some time. Tell her you like to try drugs instead of therapy. I guess I'll do this one. Augment my therapy? I don't know. We're gonna try it. Let's see. You have been prescribed medication, but you doubt that it's having any positive effect on you. You think the matter over long and hard. It is strange to think that recently, none of this sort of thing was even on your radar. And here you are now being asked to make a decision about it. You're both skeptical and nervous, still getting over the initial shock of even just talking to a therapist. Still, over the years, you've done enough entry-level reading on the subject to know that if it doesn't help, at least it won't hurt to try, right? After an intense and protracted period of internal vacillation, you decide to bite the bullet and go for it. You tell Dr. Melville that you'd like to try medication in addition to your therapy. Yes, we're gonna get somewhere in life. Yay. And you spend about half an hour going over what you'll be taking, and what you should expect from it. Thinking back on the decision later, you're pretty sure you've had your fists tightly clenched the whole way through. Oh god, okay. Here we go. It's a Wednesday evening and you're visiting your parents' house for the holiday. It's one of the handful of times during the year you drive out to visit your old hometown, and you've seen random people you've had gone to school with around town. When bumping into them, the usual short versions of what you've done since graduating are exchanged. You've gone through a few of these today and have been very aware of how much you feel that you haven't accomplished. When you were in high school, you had much larger plans, and you feel like you failed to manifest most of them. Even if you had managed to, you largely lost interest in what you thought you wanted to do growing up. Now you're not really sure what you want to do, and you felt like you're lacking the ambition or drive to figure it out. Everyone you caught up with seems so much happier than you. Like they got their lives all figured out, and you've kind of been feeling like a failure in comparison. Your brother Malcolm arrives with his new wife in tow shortly after, and you sit down to dinner. He's been traveling for his job lately, and you haven't seen him since the day he picked you up from the dentist. Your parents have seen him since before then. During dinner, they all catch up, and Malcolm talks about the amazing things he's done on the road. Your mother turns to you and asks what you've been up to ever since you last seen them. Oh, same old, you say. Nothing really new going on. Your mother makes a face. Oh, nothing new. How long are you planning on staying at that job of yours? Lie. Tell them what they want to hear, that you're actively looking for a more prestigious. Admit that you don't know what you want to do. Just admit, okay. Actually, you start sheepishly. I'm not really sure what I want to do right now. Your mom puts down her fork. So what are you planning on living the way you do for the rest of your life? How would you afford a house on this paycheck? What about kids? You're not helping. Your father interrupts, lightly placing his hand on you. It's okay, Linda. Let the kids be what they are. There's nothing wrong with knowing what you want to do in your 20s. I didn't get into construction until I was 40. Your mother looks across the table at you, unsatisfied with her husband's reasoning. I don't think it's normal for someone at that age to not have a path. You need to think hard about it, and you'll never make anything of yourself. Mom, come on, Malcolm interjects. Oh, God, this mother is a lot more toxic than I realize. This emotionally exhausts you. You want to tell her that you are thinking hard and that not knowing what you're doing with yourself bothers you more than it could ever bother her. That sometimes it feels like you're lost in the woods, and that if you were to drop dead in your apartment, the world wouldn't notice. Oh no, did I regress? You want to make her understand that more often than not you feel like an alien, like there isn't anywhere in this world that feels like a place where you belong, and you have no idea how to fix it or what to do. You wish you could find the words so she would understand that being looked down on for this kills you and drives home the feeling of being a total outsider. Instead of getting very quiet for the rest of the meal, while your mind goes numb, everything inside you starts to feel exhausted. Yes, this happens a lot when I go home. I'm actually currently home for vacation. I already regressed back on my feelings, and I'm trying not to, but it's really hard, especially since my own parent, my own mother, is a catalyst for a lot of the negative emotions I experience. So, did I use that as the right word? A catalyst? I think I guess I would prefer to say one of the causes of this. Can't really talk to her about that though. She doesn't believe in mental health. So, let's continue. It's a rainy night. You are hurrying through the rain to Alex's apartment on her behest. Though your pace is quick, the rain is suddenly soaking up your pant legs as you traverse the town. It's darkening your already poor mood. The call came while you were at home, after a day of dealing with abnormally frustrating people. You spent the afternoon trying to unwind and get some work on the project done. Alex called and interrupted one of your tries to make progress, get frustrated at not making progress, have a harder time making progress due to frustration, repeat loops. And you haven't fully shaken off the feelings of being annoyed with yourself from it yet. You knock on her door, and on the third knock you hear a voice call from the further end of the apartment to come in. As you cross the threshold, dripping rainwater all the way, and you notice that the lights are turned down very low in the apartment. You squint to navigate as you clutch on the damp umbrella, but end up hitting your shin on the side of the table, mumbling a profanity under your breath. You barely make out Alex emerging from the hallway, clad in what looks like to be a robe with bare skin and her legs peering out from underneath. "Why don't you come in here and warm up?" she asks in a dazzlingly, slightly cheesy, sexy voice. After a beat of silence, she states more naturally, "My roommates are out on the town this weekend, so I thought it'd be nice to have a little fun while they're away." You approach her affection, but you're too wrapped up in your own negative feedback loops to be on the right mood right now. I'm gonna try to unwind with her. You look at her standing barely lit and notice how there are a few candles scattered around the apartment. It occurs to you that she has been trying to make this night special for the two of you. Even though you have a tight knot of antisocial frustration in your stomach, seeing how much she cares makes you want to try to melt it away so you can show her how much you care, and she's gone through all this trouble. However, you desperately need a shift gears first before that's even possible. "You look amazing. Let's have a drink together," you suggest, hoping that this will give you a push you need to get into the mood. You go into the kitchen and pour the two of you drinks, trying to focus on letting go the bad mood, and she sits down on the couch next to her and she cuddles up with you instantly. "What should we toast to?" she asks and takes a drink. You think a moment, passing up the cheesy "to us" option, and say what's on your mind, letting go of your bad day. "To tonight." The two of you ears, and you ask her about her day. Conversation turns flirtatious, and the two of you find yourself in the bedroom shortly after. You find that you're having trouble getting into things physically with her, and remember that diminished arousal was a possible side effect of your medication. You'd hope that you were a part of the population that wouldn't be affected by it, but it seems that as though this was not the case. However, you're able to still enjoy the closeness with Alex and fall asleep together happily. Yay, we had a good night! I forgot to read about the medication thing real quick. It still says the same thing. Alright. Here we go. This is really a lot longer than I thought. I think I've been playing for about an hour now. I wonder how long this is gonna turn out. I wonder how much editing I'll have to do. It's an early winter evening, and even though you are not particularly late, the time of year has lent the sky an almost prematurely darkened cast. Day after day, just like today, you trudge home from a job you have increasingly come to hate. On this day, your job misery seems to have reached critical mass, and not even shedding your rain-laden and uncomfortable work clothes helps you to unwind from the workday. You collapse onto your couch, blank and numb, while your job always seemed to just be an unpleasant reality of existence. It was a position you sort of fell into unexpectedly, never intending to work there long term, and it's getting harder and harder to keep it up. While it's certainly not your dream job, you've almost just sort of stuck it out of necessity before. But it's becoming increasingly difficult to do that, though you couldn't even begin to imagine what else you could do. You find yourself face to face with a question. You can't just ignore this. Your complacency ain't worth the price of your level of misery. Try and at least be productive by focusing on your efforts on your project. Please focus on your project. Okay. You sit down at your computer to blow off some steam, but you are surprised to find your thoughts drifting into your long-neglected project, and you talk yourself into opening it up and taking a look for the first time in what must be weeks. For whatever reason, your anger that you've been feeling towards your day job seems to have converted to pure passion, as you seem to be overflowing with ideas tonight. It's as if you've got a buildup of ideas and just haven't gotten out, and now you're in the zone, and you don't get an unnatural amount of work done. You do work for a solid couple of hours, and it really feels great. What's more, you share some stuff across your social media networks, and you receive quite a bit of positive feedback, which makes you feel great. Now, don't rely on the positive feedback of social media, but it's nice to get that. When you go to bed that night, I think they meant you tell yourself that your job may suck, but at least you got something you really care about that you can put effort into and feel really good about yourself. In fact, as you're falling asleep, you can barely even remember your work day. How the flip am I gonna do this? It's a little past 8 p.m. on a Tuesday night. You're at your computer, frustration levels peak, rubbing your eyes and sighing heavily. You're working on a project from your job that has you stretched to the wit's end, trying to meet a looming deadline. And as it lurks closer and closer, seriously doubting your ability to get it done, you're dragging your feet a little at work due to your complete lack of energy lately. In spite of wanting to do a good job, you find yourself unable to push past it and feel horribly useless for it. You slide your hands off your face to look at your screen as it beeps at you. Hey, are you there? I really need to talk to someone about something. You feel like you're getting nowhere with your current task and could probably use a break. However, you know that you have a history of getting distracted and then losing the motivation to pick something back up again afterwards. What do you do? Try to regain your focus. Let's answer addict today. You're feeling like you hit a brick wall with your task, so why not take a break and help out a friend? Hey, what's up? Oh, good. You're there. I just found out I got cheated on. I don't know what to do. Oh no, that's horrible. The two of you talk for a long time, and you lend a shoulder to your friend. You give him space to rant, to cry, and most importantly to be able to voice his inner turmoil. You give him your full attention and talk him through what his options are for what he does next. You keep him from doing something rash, and the two of you decide it's best for him to sleep on it before doing anything else. Exhausted, he departs for bed and thanks you for being there to talk with him. As you close the IM window, you feel horribly sorry for your friend, but happy you were able to help. It serves as a tangible reminder to you that you're capable of being useful to someone instead of solely being a mess that needs everyone else's help. You boot up your work project and find that you're suddenly able to get some solid progress done on it that night. Yes, thank you. I picked the right option. I feel like. Okay. You're starting to take medication. You're hoping that it will work, but you aren't optimistic and are worried about the side effects. You're becoming more withdrawn. Alright. You're in a deep thought on the way home from therapy. However, you notice at this time, it's a Saturday afternoon, by the way. You're noticing that this time you're not in the same negative feedback loops and you usually get trapped in when being in an introspective. You realize that although you still have your bad days, your lows aren't quite as low as they used to be. Your antidepressants bottle rolls across the dashboard as you take a left turn. You've been on this medication for quite a while now. After a period of trying a few different kinds, though you still have a minor side effects, they've overall become an unanointed part of your life. Don't rely on the medication either. Don't rely on just one thing. You have to have multiple things, I believe, because relying on one thing causes addiction. So make sure you have a lot of different options in your life as to sources of comfort. I found that out the difficult way. You've been on this medication for quite a while now, after a period of trying a few different kinds, though you still, okay. You feel as though your life has generally changed for the better recently, yay, and you begin to wonder if you need them anymore. Yeah, you do. You don't feel as much despair or hopelessness, and you hate yourself a lot less these days. Maybe it's time to stop taking these, you think. I seem not to really need them anymore, do you? Don't go off the meds. Continue taking this, please. You have the realization that you can't be sure if it's a general life change that's making you feel better, or if it's just a sign that the medication is working. You decide against discounting your meds. It's not really a lesson that you like to learn the hard way. Yeah. And the side effects of this particular kind are negligible. The next time you see Dr. Melville, you tell her about this. She informs you that this is a common train of thought for people that have begun to use medication to help them manage the depression experience, and that you've managed to dodge a bullet because it generally ends poorly. Oh God, don't I know. She also asks you to talk to her first before making any decisions about your medication in the future, which is good. Yes, good. All good. It's starting to look up, y'all. This is great. 1 hour and 1 hour and 30 minutes into this. This is looking up. It's yet another sleepless Thursday night. You're at Alex's apartment, wide awake in bed as she's sleeping peacefully beside you. She fell asleep hours ago, and you've been laying here unable to shut your brain up long enough to fall asleep. You've added the feelings of insecurity about your relationship to the rest of the noise in your head, keeping you up tonight. It was kind of a tense night between the two of you. You arrived after a stressful day of work, and as you made dinner together, you barely said a word, and you were stuck in your own head and had a hard time of being present with her. as your thoughts turn to all of the ways that you feel like you're deficient at being a good person and beating yourself up mentally for each one. She told you that she could tell that you were in one of your moods and that she wouldn't push you, but missed talking to you as the two of you sat on the couch together. You wanted to tell how much you love her, but you couldn't make the words come out right and ended up sounding defensive instead. As you lay there next to her now, you traced your fingers across her arms. Hey guys, someone came into my room and I needed to take a break real quick, so I took that opportunity. Okay, it's starting to feel more like a secret you're keeping instead of something she simply doesn't know about you yet. Wait, where was I at? You still haven't explained your depression to her, or how you started seeing a therapist, or that you've been taking medication, and it's starting to feel more like a secret you've been keeping. Is this where it was left? See, this is the problem with taking breaks. Okay, I think I was right there. Okay. Or you've been taking medication and it's starting to feel more like keeping a secret. It's becoming more and more apparent that it's impacting your relationship with her, and you feel guilty about this. However, you're also terrified that if she knew exactly how fucked up you were, she would leave you. You're already worried that she's only with you because she doesn't realize how terrible you're not a terrible person. Terrible of a person you are yet, and you're afraid this would be the final thing to expose you. She stirs in her sleep and squints or opens her eyes. With the confusion that comes from waking up, she asks if you're awake and everything. Tell her about your situation. Tell her it's nothing. Tell her, I'm gonna tell her. Please tell her. You feel like a jerk for accidentally waking her, but you're afraid if you put this off any longer that you won't find strength to tell her everything later. No, actually, everything isn't okay. Can I tell you something important? Alex sits up, rubbing the sleep out of her eyes. For the rest of the night, you lay side by side, holding hands, as you tell her everything. This is great. I might cry. You tell her how it's more than just just feeling sad sometimes, how you feel trapped by your own mind sometimes, how sometimes you feel nothing at all, and how you can't shake it off. You tell her how you start going to therapy, how you feel embarrassed about it, and how it's working out for you. She listens the entire time, occasionally asking questions about how this or that works, or asking you to explain something further. She squeezes your hand and tells you she understands, and that she's sad you didn't tell her sooner. After laying silent for a moment, the weight of what you did hits you. You desperately want her to say something, to tell you how she's feeling about all of it, but you're afraid that what the answer would be. You start convincing yourself that now, that she knows everything, she's going to leave. There's no way someone could deal with how you really are. Oh God, I feel that. So how can I help? What do you need me to do? She asks. God, she's so great. You think for a second, and the answer you come up with fills you with despair. I honestly don't know. I wish I knew how to fix this, but I don't know that you can do anything. I think it's something I have to live with. She looks at you with sad eyes before kissing you on the forehead. Then I'll live with it with you. I don't know how you could possibly love me. She rolls over and wraps her arms around your neck, settling her head on top of yours. You don't need to. Just know that I do. Oh my God, this is such a cute relationship. This is so great. This is great. This is such a good relationship. Wow. How to have a proper and, healthy relationship is right here in this story. It's a Friday night and you're laying across your bed feeling pathetic. As you were leaving work tonight, a group of co-workers asked if you wanted to join them for drinks. Feeling antisocial and put on the spot, you declined. You have the habit of doing this, and you're often so convinced that you are weird and terrible and that any invitation to hang out will end in disappointment for those inviting you. You never feel like you know how to act in group outings, and you feel like a total creep, since it seems to come so naturally to anyone who isn't you. You find yourself petrified of breaking some unknown social rule that you don't go out often. Now, however you find yourself alone at home, your brain has begun telling you how pathetic and sad you are for being unable to just be a normal person and go out with the nice people. You can't figure out why you can't just go out and meet people and enjoy yourself. At the same time, you're also feeling like no one would possibly want to hang out if they really knew you, because you're dull and weird anyway. You try your typical strategy to boot Netflix to distract yourself from these feelings, but frustration with yourself builds and you realize you have to do something else with your night. Anything else to take your mind off how awful and lonely you feel right now. What do? See if Attic is online? Call Alex? Drink? No. Go out somewhere alone? Oh god. Get over it and go to the bar where your coworkers are hanging out anyway. Let's call Alex right now. Let's develop this relationship better. You dial Alex's phone number, figuring that you could spend some time with her instead of being cooped up in your apartment alone as you feel less isolated. Her phone rings a handful of times before going to voicemail. You know it's not uncommon for her to be out with friends. It's not uncommon for her to be out with friends at this hour. You leave a voicemail but end up calling again 15 minutes later with no response. Oh no, this might be a bad... I should have chose play with the cat. You imagine Alex out with her friends, much like you would be tonight if you weren't so horrible at socializing. Your mind wanders and you start to wonder who she's with and if she might be seeing someone else tonight. No. And if she'd rather be with him or her. Someone who isn't able to go to parties like this with her instead of sitting at home feeling sorry for themselves. Why did she invite you? Have you just said no one too many times? How many other Fridays have you unknowingly missed? You begin to think maybe that it would be better if she met someone tonight. She's a wonderful woman, and you feel like a constant killjoy on nights like this. Why can't you just be normal? The next morning, Alex calls you back. She tells you that she left her phone in the class and spent a boring night in her apartment too. You feel horribly embarrassed how emotional you got over mistaken assumptions the night before. Yeah, that happens all the time. Like, I can't even fathom. Like, you start talking to someone and then they suddenly leave to do whatever and you feel like you said something wrong, or you're too boring, you said something terrible. I feel like I've said that before, but it really is a real feeling, and it sucks. It's a cold Saturday afternoon. You just arrived at Alex's apartment, and you're happy to finally see her after a week of absence due to your schedules not lining up due to work and school. You hug her in the doorway, and she breaks away sooner than normal and sits down on the couch as you take off your sneakers and lay them in the usual place, right next to hers. There's something I was hoping we could talk about, actually, she says. Okay, sorry again. As you take off her sneakers and lay them in the usual place, right next to hers. There's something I hope we could talk about, actually, she says. You instantly worry that you are being blindsided by a breakup conversation due to a sudden shift in tone, but she quickly smiles and puts you at ease when she sees the color leave your face. It's nothing bad, I promise, she says. With that, she leads you over to the couch and sits on the other end of it facing you. So I hope this doesn't freak you out, and if you feel like things are going too fast, just tell me. She talks faster than usual and fidgets. We seem to have a lot of weeks like this, and they really suck. I was thinking I'd ask, since things are so strong with us, what are your thoughts on maybe moving in together? Yay! Yay! I want it! I want this to happen so much. Oh, they are such a cute couple. I'm so shipping it right now. It takes a few seconds to sink in and leaves you a bit shocked. When it does, you were worried she wanted to spend less time with you, not more. Do you want to? You ask? Well, yeah, I do. I mean, we have to sort out logistics and everything, but those are all the things we can take care of. Yes, Boo, yes. My man's finally is. Hopefully this doesn't turn into one of those we move in and then we get tired of each other type situations. I'm really hoping this relationship works out, because this is like peak relationship right here, okay? You start to walk through the steps of imagining the two of you living together. You love the thought of being able to wake up next to her every day and seeing her so often. However, the more you picture it, and the more a few concerns become apparent. There are things she is insulated from, like the days you don't feel like you can even get out of bed, the nights your medication keeps you from being able to sleep, and all those moments you're stuck staring at the wall, completely out of energy and feeling nothing. How would she handle that? How quickly would she want to get away? So, she starts, what do you think? Tell her you want to, but have concerns and discuss them honestly. Yes, do it. Yes, discuss them honestly. Perfect. Yes. You are really worried that if Alex were to live with you, she wouldn't be able to deal with the days of being unstable, to get out of bed, or nights where you can do nothing but stare at the wall and panic. Even though you discuss your situation with her, you still feel that she doesn't realize the depths of how bad it gets. It's one thing for you to detail how to feel ill sometimes, and for her to see it pop up occasionally. It's an entirely different situation for it to be something she has to live with alongside you. Well, I like to, but I think it's best if we talked about it a bit more before committing to a decision. Though she seems a little defeated, you make it clear that you're not making excuses and actually mean you want to talk. You reiterate a lot of what you told Alex that night, and although she gets a little defensive and tells you that she knows all this already, she confirms that she is willing to help you sort through your issues. I feel like you forget I love you sometimes. I know that there will be bad days, and I'd rather try to work them through with you. We can figure all of it out together. Her words sway you, and you can't help but hold her close to you. Oh, it's so cute! Alright. You are definitely still depressed, but things are getting better. Whatever you're doing seems to be working. You really feel like you're taking steps in effective, positive change in your life. You now seem to enjoy seeing your therapist. Between giving you a chance to talk things out with the CBT techniques she shares with you, you find your sessions extremely helpful. You have been taking your medication regularly, and while you were skeptical at first, it's hard to argue with the fact that you're feeling better and that you have a lot than you have in a long time. Yes, hopefully I'm going to get a good ending. It's December, and you return to your parents' house to celebrate the holidays with your family. Out the living room window, you can see a gentle flurry of snow drifting down to meet the pristine blanket of white from yesterday's unexpected Christmas Eve snowfall, and you quietly laugh to yourself at how incredibly cliché it seems. Still, as you sit down to dinner, you can't help but notice, but being surrounded by family and overly kitschy? I cannot say that. Atmosphere your mom's decorations have actually made you relaxed and more comfortable. Your mom is running around frantically, checking the oven and stockings and just generally trying to aim to family time it up, while your dad sits at the head of your table drinking a beer and laughing with your brother Malcolm. His wife Karen is there too, whom you always gotten along well with, and your parents even agreed to let you bring your kitten along. She's been darting in and out of people's legs and hopping into laps all night. Aww. As you huffily munch away at your turkey, listening to the conversations around you, your thoughts drift back over the past few months. You think about how hard things had gone, replaying over in your head some of the worst and as well as some of the best memories. It seems like all of these things just came to a head over the past few months, and suddenly a sudden flurry of relationship turmoil and professional anxiety, social stress, and above all, an omnipresent sense of weight that it seems you have just recently become aware of. You're drawn out of your reverie by your dad's familiar booming laugh as some cheesy comment Malcolm made. It seems that hit its mark. Sitting at the table, you're suddenly immensely glad for the chance to be able to ignore everything for an evening and not have to struggle trying to explain yourself for once. Fortunately, everyone seems to be content with laughing at each other's jokes and discussing favorite sports teams. And for a while, you think you'll be able to get through dinner without any embarrassing personal intrusions. But no sooner did the thought cross your mind, the table conversations trickle off, leaving a slightly awkward silence to descend upon the dinner. "So how are you doing these days?" your mom asks as you pointedly. Such a simple question, and one that you seem to have had to answer countless times recently. You take a moment to collect yourself, and looking up, you take a deep breath. "Well, oh boy, this is the end. Wow, we made it, y'all. We made it. I actually got a good end. I can't believe." Yes, the end. Wow. While you certainly can't say that things over the past few months have been easy, you're almost ready to let yourself believe that the worst parts are behind you. It may be difficult to see past your self-loathing on most days, but even so, sometimes you can't help but notice that things do seem to be getting better. One of the more difficult challenges you find yourself having to face on a daily basis is your job. In spite of your attempts at positive thinking and other cognitive behavioral techniques Dr. Melville taught you, the prospect of going into work every morning still fills you with dread in you. Fortunately, you've been able to contain these feelings for the most part, and at least you've been managing your attendance and keeping your job performance up enough that you aren't making things worse by getting into trouble with your boss. Your employment situation may be far from ideal, but for now you're content to punch the clock and collect your paycheck. On some evenings, when you've been feeling particularly motivated, you've even caught yourself hunting through online classifieds and bookmarking some new jobs that look interesting. Who knows? You may not be far from taking a leap and trying for something new. It's been some time since you've hung out with any of your friends in earnest, and now that you feel like you're coming out of the woods, you're beginning to feel self-conscious about having alienated them over the past little while. You realize that much of your flakiness and subsequent withdrawal was largely a result in trying to hide from them out of embarrassment. The notion of trusting people with your vulnerabilities is very frightening to you. And in the self-loathing, you realize that your behavior did cut them out. Though it will take a huge leap of faith in your part. You resolve to repair your social relationships. You start sending out casual messages to some of your friends asking to hang out. And for the most part, the responses have been more encouraging than you were expecting. Things with Alex seemed quite tense for a while. After your conversation with her, she really did seem to be taking a more active role in helping to understand your situation. Even so, the past few months tested the limits of your relationship to that limit. Ultimately, you were able to take her advice and step outside of your own head more and more. It was a difficult thing for you to do. Your defense mechanisms ran so deeply that oftentimes you weren't even aware of them. But you let yourself trust her as your partner, and your relationship has become much stronger for that experience. Despite all the clear progress you've made lately, you still carry the weight of your insecurities practically everywhere with you. And you even have some days still where you can't do much at all. On these days, it's very tempting for you to slip back into older unhealthy habits. But much to your own surprise, you far managed to avoid a major backslide. You know that you have a long way to go before you can feel like your life isn't spinning out of control. And even when you do, you'll never ever be rid of your depression completely. But you have a strong support network, and for the first time you can remember you're actually feeling optimistic. Things are alright, Mom, you tell her. While you see her mouth tighten in worry, her eyes soften when she sees you smiling. Epilogue. We really want to thank you for taking the time to play Depression Quest. We realize it may not be the most enjoyable game you've ever played, or even the easiest, and we sincerely appreciate your involvement. Like depression itself, Depression Quest does not have an end. Really, there is no neat resolution to depression, and it was important to us that Depression Quest's own resolution reflect that. Instead of a tidy ending, we want to provide a series of outlooks to take moving forward. After all, that's all we can really do with depression. Just keep moving forward. And at the end of the day, it's our outlook and support from people just like you that makes a difference in the world. Thanks again. Credits. Alright. Wow. That was a long game. As you can tell from this video, this game was long. It was a big old story. I did not know that going into this. But I hope it gave you some perspective as to maybe what you or someone you know might be suffering from. Maybe you took away some things you can do to help these potential people or yourself. I'm very much an advocate for the mental health community because it's very important people are educated about this kind of stuff and they know how to resolve issues and work through feelings and really connect with their emotions. So I'd like to thank everyone for watching this video. I think I've said everything I need to say about it. I mean, it's obviously not very much a gaming game. You do get options. I like that. But it's really more about focusing on what you took away from it and what that made you feel. And if you need help, get help. I hope you do. I will leave a link to this game in the description below so you can try some other things, get some different perspectives on maybe what you would or would not do in certain situations. It's all very interesting, all of it, and I hope to resolve my own issues soon as well. But thank you so much for watching. If you got this far, I really appreciate you and all 26 of my subscribers, and hopefully we can keep growing this channel because it really means a lot to me to have this channel and to be able to post online. It's really helped me. Of course, I'm not relying on it, but it is something that really lets my feelings go and helps me express myself in a different way. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got something out of this, and I hope I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!